Good morning to all. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, ji. Good morning. So I think attendance must have been already captured. So we can start.
सर वेबकैम स्विच ऑफ कर दें?
Well, you will have to put it on the WhatsApp because this is dealt with the admin. I am not involved with that. So really speaking,
Yes, sir.
you can ask this on the WhatsApp. You'll get a reply. Okay, reply is already there. So this is it. So to continue with our discussion, hopefully today it will wind up. You have to understand that the MSBC code also contains supplement. Previously, BLU code was a separate publication. Now it is included. The BLU code is included in the code itself, which is code for safe loading and unloading of bulk carriers, which was the primary reason the code was designed, because there were issues regarding safety of bulk carriers. Supplement does include all this, but as we have already done some things, we will skip. For example, recommendation for fumigation is done. We covered recommendation for intended close space and also list of solid bulk cargoes, exemption for fixed gas firefighting system. So that one we will skip, and we will straight away move to what is called the BLU code, which is also part of the syllabus. Questions will keep related to that BLU code. Technically known as code of practice for the safe loading and unloading of bulk carriers. Both loading and unloading does create some concerns. So this code, BLU code, is attached as a supplement to the IMSPC. Previously it was a separate publication, but now it is included in the code itself, IMSPC. This is how it works out. First of all, we condense this resolution number. Probably you'll have to just memorize or store in your database. This is the resolution number which is talking about safe loading and unloading of bulk carriers as per the BLU code. This resolution number. Just 1 minute to see why it was required. Resolution. We could very simply, in short, improve the safety of ships carrying solid bulk cargo. That is the reason why this was designed. Before I go further, just want to confirm with you, do you understand the meaning of this 8.713 bracket 17? You are familiar how this is configured? Everybody is familiar with this 8.7. I mean, not the code itself, not the resolution itself, but how this has been named 8.713 bracket 17. Okay, I presume it is known to you because you are quiet.
No, sir.
Haji, not familiar? Okay, you can have a look at this important because you will keep coming across this in full stages of your syllabus. Some resolution numbers. So as you say no, I'll take 1 minute to describe this. We are looking at this. Take the same one. Let us say this is the one A dot 713 bracket 17. Then how is this being designed? The resolution number itself. Resolution we are looking at in separate, but how is this designed? A dot 713 bracket 17. So as somebody said, we just go for 1 minute into it, how this is done. Now to start with this A. A is the assembly which is doing this. A is the name of the assembly which is doing this. So this is the name of the assembly. When it is A, it means IMO. It means IMO assembly. IMO. When it is A, it could be different. It could be named for a different resolution. It could be named MSC dot something. Then it meant Maritime Safety Committee. Or it could be named MEPC. Then it meant Maritime Environmental Protection Committee. So this signifies the name of the assembly which has adopted this code. This is the resolution number. This is the resolution number of the IMO assembly. Resolution number. This is the resolution number. And we come to the last part, this one, 17. This is the assembly number. This is the assembly number. Got it? So when we are looking at A.713 bracket 17, what we mean is that, or what IMO means is, IMO assembly of 17th assembly adopted resolution number 713, which is talking about BLU. See, in the 17th assembly, there could have been many resolution numbers adopted. So we are looking at 713, which is talking about BLU code. Right? It's clear now?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
सो ये दोनों में डिफरेंस क्या है असेंबली और रेजोल्यूशन में सर?
नहीं, डिफरेंस ऐसा है कि assembly is the, when we say 17, it means the assembly number of IMO. कई असेंबली होती होंगी ना, कई कॉन्वोकेशन होती होंगी, कई कॉन्फ्रेंसेज हैं, तो कौन सी कॉन्फ्रेंस का है रेजोल्यूशन? दिस इज डिनोटेड बाय ब्रैकेट 17 which says assembly number. So 17th assembly of IMO, 17th assembly of IMO adopted 713 as a resolution number, which is talking about BLU code. This is the meaning. See, IMO is holding assemblies. So which assembly? 17th assembly. And then in that assembly there have been many adoptions, many resolution numbers passed. So कौन सा वाला है? 713, which is the resolution number of the IMO assembly. We are good. Please remember, this could be something else also. I mean, this could have been named MEPC dot 713 bracket 17, which meant that Maritime Environmental Protection Committee adopted this, if it is named like that. So this is denoting which, the name of the assembly. The name of the assembly. This is denoting the resolution number in that assembly, 17th assembly. think you got the gist. Or is there still doubt? We need to know this because you will keep coming across this throughout your syllabus. Not only here in MP1 but also MP2, ASM, everywhere you will keep coming across this resolution number A dot something something. So you must know the breakup. You must know how this has been named. I guess this is done. Or any doubt still? Okay, we continue. So we were looking at actually the assembly itself. Resolution this. This was adopted on so and so date, and this is called code of practice for safe loading and unloading. So this is how it goes. Just a quick look at that because this is not really concerns us. Assembly has been done, approved, etc. But we should know what was done. So this assembly adopted this code. It was recognized by this assembly that there should be some changes caused to need to improve the safe loading and unloading of bulk carriers, obviously resulting from several accidents which did take place on the bulk carriers. So when this code was adopted, it was believed that it will enhance maritime safety. Correct loading and unloading procedures outlined in the code, BLU code, was designed so that safe practice could follow and could enhance maritime safety. So this is the background. Now, interestingly, the resolution does not talk only about bulk carriers, it also talks about terminal operators, terminal representative, they are also included in it. Because it is believed that they should also, you know, load or unload bulk carriers according to this resolution so that it starts from the terminal actually. So the terminal also is involved. And of course, footnote that the ship is always responsible, but terminal is also involved as per the BLU code. Right? That's the background about the code, BLU code. We can move on. Give me a minute. So this is what we are looking at. It is a supplement. BLU code is a supplement included here. So there are quite a few things addressed here. We start from the basic, which is definitions. Please remember, IMSBC is definitely in the syllabus and BLU code is also part of your syllabus, which is what we are doing now to complete it out. So let's go quickly through it. We'll stop where it is required to be stopped, and then we say this is a start. Introduction, we have realized, developed to minimize losses of bulk carriers. And the code, the purpose was to have everybody accountable, responsible for safe loading or unloading, including terminal. See, basically, code is referring to bulk carrier loading and unloading, but it also takes into account these conventions which were already in force. So last Marcon load line, they were already in force, so they have been covered when designing this code. Guidance to ship owners, masters, shippers, operators, charterers included, and terminal operators for safe handling of bulk cargo. All are involved by this code. Please remember you have what is called an international grain code. Have you heard of this international grain code? Which is also something we will talk about because that is also part of your syllabus. The international grain code. And also note, international grain code is mandatory. It is a compulsory requirement to follow the grain code when you are loading grain in bulk. But when we look at timber, we have done timber. Timber is a recommendation code. It is not mandatory. It is recommended code. But grain code is mandatory. You have to follow it. Anyway, it says that if there is a discrepancy between carriage of grain in bulk, international grain code will apply. If there is a discrepancy between this code and the grain code, then the grain code will be prevalent. It will take importance. Some things you must remember, or maybe if you can commit to memory or note down, it's up to you. This keeps figuring when you're loading bulk cargo. Air draft. By description or by definition, it is the vertical distance from the surface of water to the highest point of mass or area. That is the air draft. Vertical distance from the surface of water to the highest point of mass or area. Please remember, air draft will play a part because this certain ports they recommend some air draft to be maintained. So you have to maintain it. The only way you can do it is by ballasting, deballasting when you arrive. Once you start loading, of course, the air draft can be kept under control. But when you arrive, it is possible that the port or the terminal instructs you to arrive with a certain air draft. Right? Then combination carriers, ship designed to carry conventional bulk carrier, but is also equipped with pipelines, pumps, etc. to enable carriage of oil cargoes. That is combination, OBO. Oil ore. It could be called also oil or ore. Oil/ore combination. Conveyor system, you are aware, is the system for delivering cargo from the shore stockpile on the receiving point to the ship, which means, as we are aware, we have talked about it, bulk cargo is described or defined as a cargo loaded directly into the ship's cargo compartment without any intermediate form of containment. So, conveyor system is going to take that to cover up bulk cargo. Even if you have not worked on a bulk carrier, I'm sure in port, etc., you might have seen a conveyor system where you can see conveyor system running and then delivering cargo on the bulk carrier. चलो ये ठीक है work of course. This list indication light. Have you worked with the ship which is equipped with this list indication light, list indicator light? This is normally put up on the bridge front. Bridge front, presuming accommodation is aft, the light is put on the bridge front. Lights rather, because you will have two lights, port and starboard, and this will have an interface with the list indicator in the CCR. So whichever side the vessel is listing up, this will show up. The light will come on. Many ships follow the procedure of having a red light on the port side and a green light on the starboard side, so that very clearly it is indicated which side the ship is listing. Now the purpose is that even the terminal knows they can also correct it. Means they can take action to correct it. That is list indicator lights. When you say pour, which will figure in the cargo plan, pour, it means the quantity of cargo poured through hatch opening in one step. That is known as pour or poured quantity. Then terminal representative is a person who is attending the facility, the port facility, and he has the responsibility to conduct operations under his guidance. That is terminal representative. Trimming, of course, is required in some cargoes, no, which you will find from the individual schedules in MSBC. If cargo is required to be trimmed, then this is done. It is called partial or total leveling of the cargo within walls. Some machinery could be used. Manual labor could be one way, or maybe equipment like sprouts, chutes, portable machines, levelers for trimming. This is in loading. Unloading also, it is possible that the cargo is always trimmed to avoid any excessive list. However, when you say trimming the ship itself, that means adding, removing, or shifting of cargo on a ship to achieve required forward and aft drafts. This is trimming the vessel itself. Of course, this is easier said than done because whenever you stop for trimming the ship, you are going to raise concerns. This should be accounted for when you are planning the stowage itself. So, suitability of ships and terminals. Obviously, it simply states that ships nominated for loading and the terminal responsible for loading that ship should be suitable. There should be a document of compliance. If you are going to load dangerous cargo, there should be a document of compliance, or you should have a document of compliance for certificates. The period of validity of the certificates is to remain valid during loading, and then the period of validity should allow for some reserve. Means if there is any delay in berthing due to inclement weather, rain, etc. It is not that the period of validity should expire while the ship is being loaded. Some duties of ship owner. Ship should be maintained sound seaworthy condition, and I will add here not only seaworthy, cargo worthy. Should have competent crew on board. When we say crew, it means both crew and officers. And one officer should be proficient in languages used both at the loading and unloading port. On the other hand, that is duty of the ship. On the other hand, charterer and shipper will have a duty to provide safe access. I mean, suitable for access to the planned loading. They will only direct the ship to go to a port and berth which is suitable for loading. That is duty of the charterer and shipper. There was owner and charterer and shipper, and we move on to ships. They are also required to do something. To make a note of this because you can be asked what are the duties of a ship nominated for bulk loading, then this is the answer. This is what you will need to write. Weathertight, efficient in all respects for normal perils of the sea, provided with suitable, approved stability and loading booklet, you know, which you are aware, suitable, not suitable rather, I correct myself, approved. Approved by whom? Flag state. Then of course this vessel should be provided with hatch openings of sufficient size to enable cargo to be loaded or discharged. This one is something which normally is ignored, during discussion, but it is important. The hatch identification number. This should be correctly marked on the hatch itself. Location, size and color should be chosen so that it is clearly visible to the operator who is loading or unloading. He should be able to recognize which hold or which hatch he is talking about, which one he is loading or unloading. So identification number should be clearly marked on the hatches, either on top, not top actually, on the side, so that it is clearly visible to the operator. It is also recommended, which you are aware, we have already talked about it, you should have a loading instrument capable for carrying out any stress calculation. It's a loadicator actually, in short. And of course propulsion, auxiliary machinery, etc., all in suitable working order. Deck equipment for mooring and berthing operations. This is all responsibility of the vessel which is nominated to load or unload. If there are list indication lights, they should be tested prior to loading or unloading and proved operational, so that anybody watching from deck or maybe from a chute, he's sitting on top, he's just watching it, he's the operator terminal, he's the one who's operating the chute, he should be able to see which side the vessel is listing. Then there are guidance for what terminal has to do. This is what the terminal will do. So water depth at the berth should be taken into account by the terminal. Maximum size of the ship which can be accommodated on this berth. Mooring arrangements, fendering, safe access and obstruction, if any, to loading and loading. All this is accountable to the terminal. There could be some automatic weighing equipment. This should be calibrated at regular intervals. Where is this located? Any idea? Automatic weighing equipment for the amount of cargo getting in or being discharged. This is normally located underneath the conveyor belt, which is transporting the cargo or conveying the cargo rather. So this is normally located on the conveyor belt itself. So a clear record can be maintained for the quantity of cargo which is poured in or being discharged. So the terminal people, terminal personnel should be familiar with the general hazards of loading and unloading carriage of bulk cargo and also adverse effect for improper cargo handling that can have detrimental effect on the ship itself. They should be trained for that. They should be carried out, training should be carried out for all terminal personnel also, including the detrimental effects for improper cargo handling operation. It also talks about rest hours for terminal operators. They should be properly rested. There is a lengthy list. Lengthy list means really a checklist by which information is exchanged between the ship and the terminal. I'm sure people who have worked on tankers are aware of a checklist for ship shore information exchange. It is called Similar exchange is done here on the bulk carriers also. Information exchange between the ship and the terminal. It happens on the arrival itself. So some agreement should be done between the master, within the ship and the terminal, so that everything goes as per the agreed plan. If there are any limitations on loading procedures, that should be specified. Limitations or restrictions on loading procedures as specified in the ship's loading manual. This should be clearly indicated. But the loading instrument is very important, loadicator is very important. It is required so that the loading plan can be prepared on the instrument, the loadicator, and placed. It should be accessible to everyone, the loading plan. So all details for the intended cargo should be captured via the MSDS and is required to be on board prior you start loading. If there are any concerns regarding trimming or continuous measurement of water in the cargo, etc., this has to be conveyed properly to the terminal. Then what is the information given by the ship to the terminal? This one. ETA, this is going from the ship to the terminal as per BLU code. ETA, this should be conveyed by recommendation as soon as possible, as early as possible, and then updated if required. Also, when you're giving the ETA, this should go attached with it. Name, call sign, IMO number, flag state, and port of registry. A loading plan, if already prepared, can also be attached here in the ETA message itself, the loading plan. It will give the stowage, the quantity of cargo, stowage by hatches, rotation, loading order, that is rotation, and the quantity to be loaded in each port, which is the quantity of cargo poured in. And then this is ensuring also that the ship has sufficient information to be passed on to the terminal. This is very important. Arrival and proposed departure drafts. Time required for deballasting, because deballasting is, we are talking about load port, deballasting is also included in the load plan. So you say, we'll have a look at the load plan also, an example, but deballasting is also mentioned here. Some details of the vessel should also go there, like ship's over length, length overall, LOA, beam, length of cargo area. LOA is the one which is required. Who else would require LOA, length overall? As we are aware, you as chief officer are not involved with LOA, in the sense all the stability calculations only talk about LBP. So who else needs LOA apart from the terminal for loading? LOA, length overall. Well, the pilot is not interested in the LBP. He is more interested in length overall, end to end, because he needs to calculate, judge, and report to the port authorities whether the ship can berth with the available space. So LOA figures in the pilot calculations. Pilot will always want the length overall to be told to him. To him, it does not matter what is the LBP. To him, it matters what is the length overall, because he needs to calculate the design berth allocated, whether the ship which he is taking in can fit or not. As you can see, when the ship is transmitting information, air draft becomes an issue. And of course, some things like detail and capacity of ships, cargo gear, handling gear, means SWL, etc. Along with it, the ship will also convey number and type of mooring lines or any other item as requested by the terminal. If a ship is arriving in a part loaded condition, then it has to be advised what is the berthing displacement, present displacement and drafts. Then they may require previous loading or unloading ports if it is arriving part loaded. OBO carriers will take a small different turn, like preceding three cargoes, detailed in places where the last oil cargo was discharged, like that. Slop tanks, inerted, sealed, etc. That will be for OBOs. The terminal, on the other hand, will give all this information to the ship as per the BLU code. Name of the berth, loading, unloading equipment, what is the characteristic of that, what is the nominal loading rate, unloading rate, and then of course any special features of the berth or jetty that the ship should be aware of, including position of fixed and mobile obstruction, fenders, bollards, mooring arrangement. This information is going to be captured and conveyed to the ship by the terminal. Your vessel where you are working as chief officer has been nominated by your charterer to load bulk cargo at so and so port, let us say, at a port. As per the BLU code, what information will you ask for, or what information should be supplied by the terminal to you before you can start? What are your questions? So all this information is required, which you will ask for the terminal if he has not conveyed it. If he has conveyed it, it's okay. But if not, then all this has to come in from the terminal, including water density at the berth, maximum depth of water alongside, maximum distance of the water line to the top cargo hatch cover, whichever is relevant for loading operation, which is talking about maximum air draft. Arrangements for gangway and access, whether the shore gangway is going to be used or the ship gangway. Ship's accommodation lines rather. Which side of the ship, which side of the ship is to be alongside the berth. If also required, then this can also come in. Maximum allowable speed of approach to the jetty, availability of tugs, their type and bollard pull. So all this will figure in your answer. It continues. Proposed cargo handling operation, terminal loading unloading equipment is fixed or can be movable. Mooring lines required. If there is any warning of unusual mooring arrangement, because maybe the weather is warranting that instead of making 4 plus 2 plus 2, you have to make 6 plus 2 plus 2. Maybe. Then this also has to be conveyed. Is there any restriction on deballasting? Very, very important. Is there any restriction on deballasting for a load port? Then the maximum sailing draft permitted by the port authority and any other type item which is related to terminal. Then some procedures between ship and terminal should be established before cargo handling. Actually, let us go straight away to that checklist, very, very important one, which will help you to identify what should be done. Yeah, 1 minute. Let me zoom out a little bit so that you can see the whole thing. We are looking at the BLU code appendix 3, which is talking about ship shore safety checklist. Ship shore safety checklist. It is important to realize this has to be completed per se. I am very sure you can recall a ship shore safety checklist for tankers from ISCOT. Anybody can recall who has worked on tankers? You are completing the ship shore safety checklist as per ISCOT. A similar one you have included here in the BLU code, which is appendix 3. It is both applicable for loading or unloading dry bulk cargo. These are normal date, port, terminal, maximum air draft, ये सब हो गया. Ship's name, arrival draft, air draft, calculated departure draft, and air draft also. Then the checklist starts, and it clearly states this has to be completed jointly, both by the ship and the terminal, or his representative, I mean terminal representatives. Safety of operations, all questions should be answered. If there is not possible, then reason has to be given. If anything is discrepancy, cannot be agreed upon, then of course a reason has to be extended. If anywhere you are writing NA not applicable, then you have to give a reason why not. This is how it will start. This is again something you will have to commit to memory. If you are asked to design a checklist for ship shore information exchange checklist as per the BLU code, then this has to go like this. Depth of water, first thing that will figure depth of water. Both for available depth at the berth and the air draft. Mooring arrangements, etiquette. Important point number 3, in emergency, is the ship able to leave the berth at any time? So both the ship and the terminal, they are supposed to tick mark yes, agreed, or discussed, because this checklist has to be completed collectively, I mean collaterally. So this should be done jointly. So there is a terminal representative sitting here with you in the CCR in the office when you are there as chief officer, and both of you will complete saying yes, done, or terminal says done. Safe access, then it says very clearly safe access to ठीक है. Who is tending it? Is it the responsibility of the ship or the terminal? This also has to be mentioned here. Who is going to tend to the safe access, whether it is the ship or the terminal? Communications established between the ship and terminal. Communication method, maybe you are saying VHF channel so and so, or maybe you are saying a dedicated walkie-talkie which you have given to the terminal also on a particular channel. This also has to be completed. What is the communication method? The language used for communication and the telephone numbers, etc. In fact, now in present scenario, you may have phone numbers exchanged for both the chief officer and the terminal. Then some addresses or contact numbers for ship and the shore contact. It also mentions etiquette crew on board at all times. to leave the terminal in emergency. Is there any bunkering operation to be done in this port? Is it been advised, bunkering operation and agreed upon? Point number 8. Going further, intended repairs. Is there any intended repairs while the ship is alongside? Because this has to be advised and agreed upon. You just cannot start anyway. Maybe hot work is not permitted in that port if repair is involving hot work. So this also has to be declared by the ship and agreed by the terminal. Any repairs intended? What are the procedures reported and recorded for damages from cargo operation? Is the terminal aware of your stevedore damage report SDR from your SMS? You should be made aware that this will be the form filled in case you cause any damage to the vessel. But this has to be discussed and declared with. You cannot just abruptly bring one. He has to be made aware that he will be required to sign this if any damage is done by your terminal to the vessel. Copies of port and terminal regulations, just in case something different from the international ones, local regulation. These copies should also be furnished to the vessel. That the terminal follows these regulations, which would be different from international ones. These are local regulations. Firstly, the ship should be provided with a copy. Then this is also included all properties of the cargo and procedures recorded and submitted to the master as per chapter 6 of SOLAS, which is MSTS. If there is any case of fumigation, this also has to be captured here in point number 13. Atmosphere safe in holds and enclosed spaces where access is required to fumigated cargo, and the need for monitoring this atmosphere. Has it been agreed by the ship and terminal? Any limits of each loader unloader? Any limits imposed by loading plan, or by the ship or terminal? Point number 15 talks about a loading or unloading plan agreed upon and also includes ballasting or deballasting. And then approved plan A lodged with means the copy has been given with Mr. So and so foreman, stevedoring company or terminal representative. The load plan or unload plan should contain a sequence of cargo holds which are to be followed. Grade of cargo which is to be loaded in a particular cargo hold and the sequence, very important. Along with it, it will contain the deballasting also if it is a load port and ballasting if it is an unload port. If there is a need of trimming, then is that been discussed, agreed upon, need for trimming? It should not happen that this comes up suddenly. If trimming is required, then this should be declared immediately on arrival that trimming will be required so that terminal can also prepare for it. ये वाला देखो जरा please. Do both ship and terminal understand and accept that the ballast program, if it becomes out of step with the cargo, it will be necessary to suspend the cargo operation until ballast operation has caught up, which is normally it could happen. Please understand, it is not that every time you will stop because of commercial issues, but this should be understood. That is what the checklist is saying. It should be necessary to convey it to the terminal. Whether you do it actually or not, because of commercial pressures, because of charters requirements, is something different. But it should be conveyed. But if necessary, then we have to suspend the operation. Safety first, because if ballast operations and the ballast operations are not matching with the cargo operation, then you have to suspend because that can cause damage to the vessel itself. Procedure for removing cargo residues during unloading and should be accepted. This is also important because many times you run into an issue where both the parties are saying it is your job. So in the checklist itself, you should come to a conclusion who is going to do it. Final trim of the loading ship agreed upon. Final trim means forward and aft rounds. Terminal advice of the time required for the ship to prepare for sea. This is also important because you may finish at so and so time, but then in this checklist itself you declare you need 2 hours for preparation to sea for sea. Then of course comes the signed and agreed date, time for ship, for terminal, rank from ship, position of the terminal representative and title. I think this should be good. You have followed this, right? This is the ship shore checklist. Ship shore checklist for loading bulk cargoes, which has to be completed necessarily. Ship shore safety checklist for loading or unloading bulk cargo. It has to be done necessarily. There is no via media. It has to be done. Okay, then we meet again. I think I'll see the timetable. I think it is 12:45 or something. We meet again to continue, wind it up. We need to go through a load plan also, how to design a load plan. Anyway, right now I need to move on to phase 2. Maybe you got another class, so we stop this one here and we meet again. And that
Okay,
is
sir.
design timetable, right? Okay. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the feedback together. When we meet again, together we will take the feedback. Not much time, I mean, in between, so we'll take a collective feedback. Okay? Hello, take care. See you again.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hi, Batch. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, sir.
All good? Yeah, sorry, here for a couple of minutes of joining in delay. Uh, Vandana, Kumar, can you give me the controls, please?
बाबा सर याद कर रहे हैं आपको बहुत बुरी तरह बाबा सर भी याद कर रहे हैं आपको करेक्ट बिल्कुल सर आपको बता दें पेज 1 मैंने भी ऐसा किया था